Hi, Sandra here from CREATEINSPAIN. If you own a ScanNCut, then you own the most expensive piece of equipment that you would need in order to make your own stamps. Interested? Okay, I'm going to explain to you step by step how this stamp was made, and it only takes a few minutes. What I've done is I have used a very cheap vinyl and I have kiss cut it on the Brother ScanNCut. So this is another way that you can use your ScanNCut to be very handy making stamps. So what I did in this particular instance, because I decided I might as well, I actually applied the vinyl to this side and turned the sentiment around. And this means that when I put it this way up, I have just the plain acetate surface and I can just wipe that off and I can reuse it quite easily. Put this onto my piece of glass. I'm going to just pop a little bit of masking tape on here to stop it from moving around. I've got a plastic frame here, and yes, I know I've made my own frames, 3D printed them, but as long as you have something which is solid and a reliable depth, it really doesn't matter too much what you use. And now I'm just going to get my gel, my special stamp making gel, and put it in. Now there's a tiny little border around this sentiment, not very much, so I have to be careful that I do get it lined up properly. And in fact, I'm just going to put another couple of pieces of tape on here, I think, just to keep this down, to stop it from flipping up at all. Right, there we go. So my gel comes in a litre or a kilo bottle, a black big kilo bottle. I decant it and I put it into these smaller containers and keep it in a drawer. And you can see from what I'm doing now, my gel is perfectly liquidy. It does tend to get a bit harder to pour it when it's cold out, but the temperature is quite pleasant at the moment, mid-20s or something, so this is really quite nice. And you don't want to get any bubbles in it, and you want to make sure that it is filled, so you can finish filling like that, and then you can just let it settle for a moment. You can see, I think there's enough gel in there. A piece of cellophane, put it in the center and allow it to just spread out to the sides, and then the other piece of glass goes on the top. There we go. Now when I press down here, any excess gel will come out over the top of the frame, but it's caught between basically my glass and my acetate, and it's not going to cause me any mess really, so that's fine. And I'm going to put this in my lamp for 45 seconds on the first side. So I'm just going to pick it up and pop it in there, and I have a digital timer. You do need a digital timer for this. So I'm just going to start this off, and then when that's done I will turn it over and give it 45 seconds on the other side. This is my little package. There might be a little gel on there. If you've got gel on your glass plate, it's easy enough to deal with. Just put it under the lamp, make it solid, and then you can peel it off. No problem. So here we go. Here's the reveal, and you can see the design on here, and this can simply be cleaned off, as I said, with warm soapy water, alcohol, whatever, and it can be reused if you want to reuse it. So this is the piece that is the actual stamp. We need to take it to the bathroom and give it a good scrub with warm soapy water. I've removed the frame, as you can see, and all I have to do is to peel off the cellophane from the back. If you want to, you can wash it, reuse it, and I can trim my stamp down with a pair of scissors quite easily, and then I just need to have it dry before I use it. And I will either leave it on this or pat it dry. This is, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's a cleaning cloth that they sell in our local stores. And it's very soft and pliable when it's wet, but it's quite stiff when it's dry. But it doesn't leave any fibres or anything, so it has a lot of uses in the craft room. And I'll just pop it on here. I can trim it down further if I want to, but I don't have to. Now, if you look at this stamp in comparison, hopefully you can see this is all smooth. This one here, where I had a bad print, is all rough in the centre, and I had to trim it down. And this one is perfect. It is nice and even. All this area here is perfectly smooth and flat. I've got a nice rise on the actual design, and I don't anticipate any problems at all in stamping it. So I'll just get a scrap paper, my Memento Black, which is the same as I used for the other one, and here we go. I might have a little bit of a raised area towards the edge, or it might just be that I'm pressing on there a bit too much. And here we go, get a flat part of the paper. And there we are. Yeah, I've got a bit on the corners. That's where you have the frame, it kind of creeps up the sides a little bit, which is why you need to have a little gap around your design. But the actual design is coming out beautifully clean and crisp. That was the other one. And there we go. So it works really, really well. And that's another way you can use your ScanNCut to help you save money, because stamps are expensive. Now, the liquid that I use, as part of a bottle here, is made by Collop. It's NG7. The one that you get in the States is made by the same company, but I think it's tinted green. Other than that, it doesn't have an awful lot of difference to it. That's the bottle that it comes in. As you can see, this one is quite well used. I've got about that much left in there, I guess. It's very expensive to buy, but you can make an awful lot of stamps out of one of those bottles of polymer. Right, my lamp. This is quite an old lamp. It's the second one that I've had because my original one eventually gave up the ghost. But you can see that I have in here, I've got my bulbs, but I've got them facing out towards this quilted looking inside. The reason for that is if I have them facing inside, as you would normally, and these rotate, this will cure a stamp so fast that there's like a second's difference between a cured stamp and a completely useless over-cured stamp. The timing is absolutely imperative on stamp making, and I know the times that my stamps are going to take using my particular polymer and this particular setup. Now, these lamps are replacement lamps for the old-fashioned U-shaped UV lamps that I originally had. I've had these lamps for probably 2.5 years, and they still work perfectly. The U-shaped lamps will work, but they don't work reliably. Trying to make stamps with the old-fashioned U-shaped lamps is really hard work. And you might think you can get away with using a normal nail lamp. The problem is that you'll be stuck with wherever they have decided to put the light bulbs. And unless you can get one which has got light bulbs all the way around in a nice even pattern, you'll find making stamps very hard with that. And I have had previously, I had another lamp which was a two-handed lamp, and that one was so powerful I couldn't use it. It was just way too fast. This is a 48 watt, I think. Those bulbs are 9 each, and they do the job really nicely turned the wrong way. You can actually use one of these lamps with just 2 of those bulbs in there. Whether it will do the electrics any good inside the lamp itself, I really don't know, but it will cure stamps. There is no doubt about that because I've done it. But that is what I used to cure it, and that cost me, the lamp itself cost me about 15 euros, I think, and it probably cost me another, I can't remember what it was at the time, but another 20 euros or more for the actual bulbs. But as I said, those bulbs have been going strong for 2.5 years, so I don't have a problem with paying 10 euros, $10, £10 a bulb if they're going to last that long. When I was using the old-fashioned U-shaped lamps, they used to have to be replaced every 3 months because they need warming up time. They didn't put out a consistent power, and as they aged, they would get weaker, whereas these don't. I mean, they either work or they don't work, and that's it. They're really great. So that's how I make my stamps. I have a whole load of stamp making videos on my YouTube channel. If you're interested in making your own stamps, for heaven's sakes, watch the playlist which is called Most Important Stamp Making Videos, because I put the more recent ones in there, and I put them in there so that you've got details of lamps and gel and timings and all sorts of things. There's a lot of very useful information in there, and yeah. And so I've got this down to a fine art these days, so I'm quite happy making my own stamps. I do not, however, make them for other people. Very occasionally I'll feel generous and I'll have a giveaway and I'll give away a stamp, but I don't take commissions. So there we go. I hope you found that interesting, and I hope at some point some of you will give it a try. A word of warning, those bulbs are getting more difficult to get, as indeed are the old-fashioned bulky UV lamps, because most of the nail techs are using these nice, modern, sleek-looking UV lamps, and it's much harder to get hold of those now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care now.